The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Nick Zulovich, part of the team at Cherokee Media Group and Senior Editor of Subprime Auto Finance News. In today's webinar, Why Your Dealership Should Be Texting in 2018, we're going to learn more from Matt Boyce and Jordan Reed from Podium. But before we get started, I want to go over a few housekeeping items for today's webinar. Please make sure you've dialed in using the phone number provided in your communication email, or you're able to listen via your PC speakers. We are recording today's webinar, and we'll make the recording available to you as soon as possible. You will be in listen-only mode for this webinar, but we will reserve some time after the presentation for a Q&A segment. You can submit your questions at any time through the questions box on the GoToWebinar control panel. And if we aren't able to get to your question today, don't worry, because we'll forward it on to the team at Podium so they can respond back to you directly via email. And lastly, if you have any difficulty during the webinar, please click on the hand icon on the GoToWebinar control panel to alert a member of our team. So with plenty of knowledge and recommendations to share, let's get right to Matt and Jordan for our webinar. The floor is now yours.
Thank you. Today, we are excited to go through why your dealership should be texting in 2018. We've noticed a lot of trends happening in the marketplace across all industries. We've got really specific tips and guidelines for auto dealers. And we've got 5 examples of how you can get started. With that, I'm Matt Boyce. I'm a marketing director here at Podium. I've got Jordan Reed on the phone as well, who's a regional sales director. Both of us have spent a lot of time thinking about how can you personalize and modernize your customer experience. Feel free to drop us a note or ask us any questions after the webinar. Today, on today's call, we'll go through why businesses are adopting text messaging at an unprecedented rate. We can go through how to actually get started with text messaging, and then we've got specific use cases and tips on how to text message and improve the customer experience. So as just a general framework, your customers want to text you. We see that 89% of consumers want to use messaging to communicate with the business, and 48% prefer to use SMS text messaging, and 97% of adults, American adults, are texting weekly. This isn't just millennials. This isn't just age 21 to 27. This is across adults. So the overwhelming majority of people want a fast, convenient way to communicate with the business, just like they would their friends, and yet they're left out in a lot of ways. So businesses that don't accommodate a consumer communication preference, those businesses are going to be left behind. We've seen that less than half of businesses have any way at all to accept a text message. And even those that do have a strategy, sometimes it's simply the secretary's cell phone or something like that, which is kind of a cumbersome process. So the question is, why do consumers even want to text? Texting can be easier and less intrusive than other channels. It can be a lot faster and it can save time. And then in certain situations, it will eliminate phone tag. One example of mine is I just moved to a new city. I need a new dentist. I know I need a new dentist. I want to go to a new dentist. But I've just had a hard time setting up an appointment and getting started. So I'm in meetings and really busy during normal business hours. And the dentist that I wanted to set an appointment with is also just open during those normal business hours. And so if I had the ability to maybe message them or text them, I could go ahead and set an appointment while I'm sitting through a different meeting or even on a webinar like this. But instead, they only accept phone calls. And so I waited 3 additional months to finally set up that appointment for my cleaning, just because it was inconvenient. And so that same process is happening with dealerships, with service departments, and so on. So if text messaging is done right, it can be far more effective. I don't know if you're familiar with your email open rates and conversion rates, but we see email open rates are somewhere between 10 and 20% on a lot of email campaigns. Conversion rates are really poor in the single digits in some cases, and a lot of those emails aren't read for a few days. So text messaging, on the other hand, have a 99% open rate, and 90% of text messages are opened within those first 3 minutes. And so it's an incredible way to get a message to your consumer in a really timely and convenient fashion. We have a lot of customers using Podium and who have been texting their customers for a little while now, and we've seen some great results. So 77% feel that customers are more satisfied texting with a business. We see that 66% feel they're developing a more positive customer relationship, and those customers are more likely to return because they've had such a positive experience. And then many of those businesses say they're seeing savings of 5 hours per week simply because they don't have people playing phone tag or leaving a voicemail or returning a voicemail or things like that. So it can really be a pretty drastic time and cost savings as well. So here's how to actually get started with text messaging for your business. The easiest way and the most effective way is to set up a Google click-to-message text number. So Google has a new feature. Typically, they've had on your Google My Business map listing, you'll see you in the past would see 3 calls to action. It would be website, directions, and call. And they've added a 4th that's just a message. So if you're doing that search on a mobile device, you click message and it will open up in your messaging app, and you can instantly start texting them. So in order to do that yourself, go ahead and log into your Google My Business page, select messaging in the upper left menu. You can add a telephone number to receive texts, and initially you can put in really any number. You can put in your cell phone. You can't put in a landline if it hasn't been converted to a textable number, but that's one way to get started, and then you've got to verify that number with Google. But that brings up the second step. You'd be wise to enable your landline to accept text messages, and we can help facilitate that. But if you've had a number you've been promoting for the last 20 years, you definitely don't want to lose that, especially if it's a really memorable set of digits. And so you can then convert your landline into a textable number and use that number for your Google My Business listing, and so it can receive both calls and texts.
And just a quick tip, we have a lot of dealerships out there that have one number that they use in multiple places. For example, cars.com and Edmunds and various sites like that, where you want to make it convenient for that customer or potential customer to get in touch with you. And so if you want to use the same number, the same one that your dealership uses, across all those sites, it'll be extremely easy for them just to text you and then go through the messaging app, and you can communicate with them that way.
So make sure you're publishing that textable number everywhere. You want to put that on your website. You want to put that on your business listings. Go ahead and put it in your email signature, and just to get started, we've seen people even use their original number, but then just add a sentence next to it that says, try giving us a text or something like that. And it can be a really good way to increase adoption. So we've seen some pain points, and I just want to address a couple of these and give a solution. So one of the issues with having a a cell phone as your primary textable device. So let's say you're a general manager and you want to keep tabs on all those inbound text messages. So you put your personal phone number on your Google My Business listing. You encourage people to text that. While that does give you visibility, that means that every single message has to come to you. You could very well be one of the busiest people in the business, and so that could be slowing down the information back to your customers. The other thing is, if you allow all of your staff to be messaging on their personal device, you could see a lot of that data leave your business as you have turnover and as people come and go, or even if a device gets lost or stolen. And that can be dangerous. The other thing is, if all of those messages are on a single dedicated cell phone, you've either got to pass that phone around to people, or it stays with one person who's on the clock 24/7 all the time. So those can be kind of a pain. On the other hand, if you're using a customer interaction platform similar to Podium, you can remove those conversations from a personal device and put that in your platform so that everyone has access. You can move all of those conversations that were on all of your sales reps and service managers' cell phones and put them into one central repository. The other incredible thing is you can have your entire staff create a login so that they're able to each take a conversation that's pertinent to them. And so you're all texting into one number, and you can assign something to sales and assign something else to service. And the more people you have on your messaging platform, the faster you can be at responding and getting accurate information, and it can be a really cohesive experience for your customers. Podium can do all of these things plus more. So with that, I want to turn it over to Jordan to go through some of the actual use cases that he's seen with text messaging.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. So, just to echo a little bit more what Matt was saying there about managing these conversations. Look, I think you guys are all on this phone call because you understand there's huge value in messaging with your clients, right? So, it's kind of an adapt or die mentality, and this is the world we live in. You can say, if you guys are Amazon users, I think Amazon had a lot to do with this. One with reviews, but also with the convenience that they create for their consumers. And that's a big reason why they're doing so well, right? So the key is, in what Matt just said, in managing these conversations and having this platform, is that we need to make this as convenient as possible for your consumers. Now, it's great for them because we live in this on-demand society, right? We want something and we want it now, and that's just kind of how we're built. And if we don't get it now, then we'll go elsewhere, and that's where you lose potential customers to other dealerships. So what we're saying here is you want to have a method in which, and text is what does this for the most part, but overall you want a method in which you can be aware of all the potential leads coming in via text, and then a method where you are easily able to respond to them and capture their business before they go elsewhere. Okay, so I'll share with you a few tips that I think make sense, and it's been really fun to see what the dealerships that we're working with, just to see some of the creative ideas that they have and the way they're using this. So I'll jump into it here. A really good option is setting appointments and sending appointment reminders. All right, we spend way too much time in the dealerships, making phone calls, or for that matter, having people miss appointments, right? And what happens there is, you just missed opportunity to reschedule another appointment with someone else and get money for that, right? So we want to maximize your time and make it efficient. And by that same token, we want to maximize your employees' time at work. Okay, so as you see here, it significantly reduces the no-show appointments. So here's a quick example, right? Hey, Chris, are you still planning on coming in to test drive our Honda tomorrow at 2? Yeah, hey, I totally forgot. Thanks for reminding me. Okay, we'll plan on seeing you, et cetera, et cetera. I just, I want to share something real quick. This is not a dealership example, but this is just the power of text. And and kind of what this point is making here. In the fall, well, right after the summer, I needed to clean out my rain gutters before winter came, right? So I looked online and found a few different options, and we played phone tag for multiple days, just like Matt told you. You know, he's busy. I was the same way. You guys are the same way, right? We're all busy during the day. We don't really have time to handle all this stuff and have conversations on the phone. It's interesting though, there was one person that had a number that said, text me. And I text him, and within 15 minutes, he texts me back. And I don't think there's any surprise that I chose him to clean out my rain gutters, right? Now, it might be a trivial example, but I think it's very powerful in the sense that this is what we expect today. You know what? He could have charged me more, and I didn't care because it was convenient. And that to me is important. There's a few other things I want to share here. So you can answer customers' product and service questions as well. You know, people can text in with these questions. And what it does, again, back to efficiency, it just really makes it more efficient for your employees. And you can get further by texting, right? Like if you have one conversation on the phone and then that's it, and then you have to play phone tag to get on a second call, you know, that becomes monotonous, right? So if you can, you know, have these conversations spattered throughout the day whenever that consumer has time, it makes it a lot better for them. And I think the key right there is improving customer satisfaction, right? That's what we want to do, because you are technically selling a commodity that someone down the street has, and what will separate you, right? Is it your price? Well, I mean, for the most part, people haggle all the time at dealerships. I don't think it's price. Like I said, with you know, cleaning the rain gutters, I would actually pay more just for convenience alone, okay? Another thing is just inventory check, right? Again, these are simple things, but it's been really interesting to see that this doesn't just come up from time to time. We talk with our dealerships quite often and get feedback and, you know, see how they're doing. It's been really interesting to see the high number of texts just like this that people are getting, the dealerships are getting, okay? It also creates upsell opportunities. And really, that's huge, right? We want to win in the margins, achieve incremental increases in revenue. And again, it's tied to that customer satisfaction, right? Would your experience be better if you looked online and found different options yourself, or made some phone calls and you know, had people calling you back and leaving messages, or if you were able to text and they text you back a picture? You know, I think it's a rhetorical question, right? Obviously, it's a heck of a lot easier to go through text message.
So I want to go through a quick use case here. Here we're seeing an example of someone upselling via text message. So in this case, it's Ted's Auto. They say, hello, Chris. When we're servicing your car, we noticed the air filter was a little bit dirty. Would you like us to replace it? A new one will be $15. Thanks for letting me know. Yes, please change it. So they've really quickly, in just a matter of seconds, increased that transaction by $15. And it was a good experience for that customer. On the flip side of that, imagine someone dropped off their car and you know, something, you know, for your service department, you've got to try to get a hold of them because they now need maybe new brake pads or they need something else, and you try to call them. It's an unknown number. You leave a voicemail. They forget to check their voicemail. Even if they do check their voicemail, they may forget to call you back. And that whole time, your bay has been full with a car, or you pull it out and you got to pull it back in once you finally get a response. And so one of these upsell texts, you can text and get a response within minutes. You could attach a picture to show how bad that air filter was, or something like that. So it's an easy way to help out with your absorption rates at the dealership.
Another great option here is just asking for feedback, right? So, I mean, right now, you're all familiar with the cumbersome, you know, satisfaction surveys, NPS surveys, and I know, you know, you guys are highly focused on CSI surveys as well. But you know, there is a lot we can do, not only just with reviews, but there's a lot we can do beforehand before they ever get to the CSI, and we can make it really easy, right? We minimize their time, whereas normally people are sending emails and the response rate is below 1%, right? You're not getting anything out of that. In fact, you're probably just frustrating customers. But if you can do this via text message, it's really, it's extremely easy. People are used to text messaging all day anyway. It's really not intrusive, right? So we see Podium customers using Messenger. They see a 26% increase in NPS scores.
And NPS score is Net Promoter Score. It's similar in a lot of ways to your CSI scores, but really it's a pretty similar increase among both.
And this is kind of how it looks, right? So we use machine learning essentially to go through and this would go out automatically, this text. Hey, thanks for choosing Fred's Ford. On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely would you be to recommend our dealership to your family and friends? They would reply with a 9, in which case, we would go through, the machine would go through that and figure out how to reply. So it's really out of your hands and it's really easy, but you're getting a lot of benefits out of this, seeing what your customers are thinking real time.
And because it's so fast, you might see that they complain about one of your salespeople, or they might complain about the cleanliness of the waiting room, or they may think it was just incredible. And so you can find those insights, good or bad, and try to fix them, or even promote how wonderful your business is. And so getting that feedback that much faster can be really valuable.
Again, going back to simplicity here, we want to make your employees have more efficiency. We also, again, want to make it a lot easier for your customers. And so answering questions and solving these problems, they're done a lot, it's done a lot quicker if you're able to go through messaging, right? Text message. Just like it says there, not all questions and problems require a phone call. In fact, that is probably one of the least efficient ways to do things. And one of the reasons is because this isn't the 1990s, right? I mean, people expect text message. In fact, and it's kind of a bummer in a way, but most people don't even want to talk on the phone. They'd rather just handle it via text. So yeah, texting is just an easier option. It's visual. The other benefit is they can go back to that text and they won't forget, what they talked about if it were a phone call. And a user case here, just general questions. Hey, how late are you guys open, right? And someone will always be able to respond quickly to that. And again, we want to do it quickly because we don't want to lose them to someone else.
So I've got an example from just recently. I needed to get my oil changed, and there's an oil shop close to my house, but it's across a pretty busy intersection. And so I didn't want to drive over there just to wait in line, or even go through this busy intersection just to test it out. So I decided, hey, to save myself a little bit of time, I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to call them. And they weren't set up for any sort of texting or messaging. So it rings probably 5 or 6 times. Finally, somebody picks up the phone, and I could tell they were out of breath. It sounded as if they just run across the shop. They might have been working on someone else's car. They come up, they answer the phone, and I just have one simple question. It's do you have an open bay right now? And he said, yeah, we're free, come on in. And he hung up. I got in my car and I went right there, but that took him out of his flow, so he lost efficiency. And I didn't need to know in that exact second if they were open. I just needed to know within a couple minutes. And so it was a poor experience on both sides. And that type of general question, there are all sorts of questions that you may not even anticipate, but once you've unlocked the power of texting with your business, I think you'll see a lot of examples.
Yeah, we actually had a really cool example just recently, in fact, of one of our dealerships selling a Toyota Tundra via text message. And it's just, so we thought the dealership was so excited, they called us and we had a good chat with them about it. But it was incredible, right? I mean, people want to do it this way. In fact, I have, before I get into that, the person I go to a dealership about 45 minutes away from my house. I live in a city for the most part, and I've got to pass 20 or 30 dealerships on the way to this other dealership. All right, but most of what I do is handled via text message. Me and him just work out all the details, and when I get in there, I'm in and out in under 20 minutes. And so to me, look, I know there's no haggling of price. He says this is the deal, and I say okay, because to me it's worth an extra $500 or so just to have it done in 20 minutes and get out of there. Now, I don't know if that's realistic for everyone as far as the deal time, but that's not the point, right? The point is convenience. People will pay for convenience.
So if you can find more ways to eliminate barriers and make it really easy to do business with you, your business is going to win. So here's the example where we did actually close a deal via text message. This isn't us, this is one of our customers, but we've changed a couple of the details and the names, but the customer says, do you have any 2017 Nissan Titans on the lot? We have a couple. What trim level are you looking for? Just the base package is fine. The business comes back and says, we have a white one that fits your criteria. Will that work? And it's, what's the price? I could put $4,000 down. They make an offer, and he says that works. I'll be in tomorrow. My name is Sam. And really within a couple minutes, the customer knew what he was looking for. You're in a really competitive market, and so he can go between shops. And for him to get exactly what he wants, he knows what he's looking for. You can provide it, and in that case, you won the deal.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, again, it's all based on this messaging. But what we want to do is connect you, or you want to get connected with your potential customers and your current customers, and you want to do it in a way that's very convenient to them. And then you also want to get their feedback, right? And so this is a great time to invite customers to actually review your business. Again, you're connecting with them directly, and you get them, basically, you get them right to the review site, right? And if you do this via text message, I mean, you probably, a lot of you on the phone probably do this via email, and I know I've received a lot of emails and asking for reviews, and that's great, right? But at the end of the day, regardless of my good intentions to leave someone a good review for the experience I had, I don't get to it, right? I'll star that email. I'll say, I'll come back to it. But as consumers, we're fickle, right? We make these things bigger than they need to be. And so, if on the flip side, you get a text message right there when they're in the dealership, and it comes, like I said, via text, they've got the time, they're excited to get their car, they're going to be so much more likely to leave that review. And for that matter, they will leave an honest review, and they'll feel that accountability to get it done because someone asked them to do it and just send them a text. It's just really easy.
So it also is really effective. We've seen the number of reviews increase by 15 times compared to email-based platforms they were using in the past. So let's look at why these reviews matter. We see that across consumers, 3.3 is the lowest star rating of a business that consumers would consider engaging with. That doesn't mean if you're at a 3.4, you're set and you're done. But if you're at 3.3 or lower, you need to really work and try to get that up. Customers will be apprehensive of doing business with a business that's reviewed so poorly. Amazon has made the reviews so common, and it's so useful on a platform like that it's also translating into your local service businesses. Next, 82% of consumers say the content of a review has convinced them to make a purchase, and so they are not only looking at your star rating, they're reading through their peers' experience and deciding whether or not to do business with that location. And then finally, 93% of consumers say that online reviews have had an impact on their purchase decisions. What makes this so powerful is that consumers trust the word of or the review of a friend, of a peer, a real stranger just as much as they do from a personal recommendation from a family member. So it can be really powerful to your business. Here's an example of Podium's review invite flow. So after a transaction, you can be sending these manually, or we can automate it so that, you know, once your dealer management solution marks a transaction as complete, the customer will get a text message. It will say, "Thank you for choosing Ted's Automotive." That image can be customizable with your logo or message there as well. It says, "Hi there, thank you for choosing us. Could you take 30 seconds and leave us a quick review?" The link below makes it really easy. They tap that link, and next they'll see, use Google to leave your review. Yes. And if so, they'll be taken to Google, 5 stars, quick review, and they're done. Or no, use a different review site, and they could go to Facebook, or you could send them to any number of platforms. So really within 3 taps on their smartphone, they could leave you a review. And so we're seeing a lot of businesses get, you know, 20 to 30, even more, 20 to 30% of their customers leaving a review. And if you're a successful business, that can be a lot of people, pretty good volume.
Yeah, and really, you know, it's the small things, right? It's not, you don't need to make any big changes. Really, all we're doing is, people are pretty decent. They'll want to leave a good review. I mean, you guys have all seen, you know, that 1-2% that are just angry. They have an axe to grind. Unfortunately, they are the ones that kind of dictate our online reviews right now. And that's why Podium is so good at what we do. We actually get that 80 or 90% that had a really, you know, good overall experience, but they're just not motivated at all. We get them to leave a review because we make it just stupid easy, really. That's what it comes down to. We make it very easy, and people by nature are actually very willing to leave these reviews.
So with Podium, you can manage all of your business messaging in one place. So this allows you to consolidate all conversations into a single dashboard. You can see in the image on the right, you've got multiple threads going on. You can see the review invitation. You can see that the link was clicked. You can then see what that actual review was from Google. And then you could even respond to this person, in this case, Ivory Roberts, and say, "Thank you so much for your review. We hope to see you again soon." You could then even follow up and schedule their next service visit. So those types of conversations allow you to gain valuable insights into your business operations. And then you can stay connected to improve your overall customer satisfaction, where you can follow that customer throughout time, where they're looking for a vehicle, they're buying a vehicle, they're servicing a vehicle, and they're looking to buy their next vehicle. And you can be that go-to dealer across the lifetime of that customer. And then utilize pre-made templates to jumpstart conversations. You don't have to start from scratch. You don't have to worry about typos or tapping all that out on a phone screen. So all of those things make Podium really powerful. So if you decide to take your relationship with Podium to the next level after this webinar, mention Podium 18 on your call, and we'll be sure to get you a discount off of your service. With that, we'd like to open it up to any questions.
Thank you so much, Matt and Jordan. A lot of great tips and information there on the power of text messaging. And if you have questions for our experts from Podium for our webinar today, why your dealership should be texting in 2018, please use the questions box on the GoToWebinar control panel. And to get our conversation started, you shared some great insights about the power of text messaging. If you could just to reiterate the point one more time of just either from dealer experiences or from research you've conducted, just why does this method of communication via text, why is it so appealing to customers, and why are they the open rates are better, and it's just an overall better process?
Yeah, overall, the customer is changing. So there's a funny tweet that's been going around, and it says in 1998, everybody knew not to get into a stranger's car and not to meet people from the internet. And now today, using Uber and Lyft, we literally summon a stranger with the internet and get in their car. And so any business that can improve that customer experience is going to have an advantage. So a customer or a customer today is on their phone. They check their phone over 150 times a day. And so if you can deliver a message where they're already looking, they're much more likely to open it. They're likely to respond. I don't think they're making 150 calls a day, but they may very well be messaging that many times. So all of those combined make it a powerful reason.
Yeah, and I'd add to that. I think it's not, like Matt was saying earlier, it's not just the millennials. It's not a certain group, right? My mom and dad are 66 and 65. They text for basically everything, right? And it was funny. One time I asked my dad if he had received an email I sent him about something, and he said, I don't check my emails. And he's got 3 different inboxes, and he just doesn't check them, right? So keep in mind that you're going to be surprised by the amount of people and the demographics and everything that are using text message instead of email. And at the end of the day, that's why, right? That's why we have such a high open rate, because email, unfortunately, and as odd as it sounds, is becoming more archaic, right? And then the other thing I would mention is just, look, see yourself as a consumer, and text is so extremely convenient that's the way you would want people to contact you, right? And so that's what we do.
Very good, very good. The voices that you're hearing, that's Matt Boyce and Jordan Reed, our special guests from Podium for today's webinar, Why Your Dealership Should Be Texting in 2018. And a few questions have come in from the registrants who have joined us. And gentlemen, a kind of a technical question, just what type of infrastructure should be in place? How can a dealership set up a landline to accept text messages if that's what their infrastructure is like? Just what are some quick nuts and bolts of how dealerships can leverage the infrastructure that they have, or what modifications they should make to leverage text messages best?
Yeah, the good news is it's really pretty simple. So we can leverage almost your existing system. We can integrate with many CRMs and DMSs, and so most of the time our implementation is within 24 hours. So if you were to say, hey, I want to start texting today, by tomorrow you could be receiving those text messages. So it's not as maybe tricky as you might think.
Very good, very good. Well, if you have a question for Matt Boyce and Jordan Reed of Podium, please use the questions box on the GoToWebinar control panel. And multiple individuals have submitted this type of question, gentlemen. So we'll kind of gather them all together here, talking about the compliance and making sure that dealerships abide by state and federal regulations. Just if you could just touch on the regulatory aspect of text messaging, and what are some best practices there to make sure that dealerships are complying with any type of state and federal statutes that might be in play?
Yeah, great question. And you know what? You're not alone. That is probably the #1 question we get. And it's very valid, right? Look, there's a couple things to note. #1, we are TCPA compliant. We are compliant in every single state. We do include on our text messages, if you like, we include an opt-out. Now, by the law, we don't need to, right? But we will include it because it makes people feel better, and we totally understand that, right? As long as it's not for marketing or commercial use, you have the ability to reach out to these people as long as they have an ability to come back and say, no, we don't want this, right? Yeah, so that is, I mean, basically that takes care of it. I would note one more thing. Look, we have a lot of dealerships, a lot of big groups, and then, you know, overall, Google invested in us back in May, and they did, so they're part owners in our company, and they did about 4 months of due diligence. And look, they uncovered or turned over every rock they could. And I hope, I only tell you that just so you know, you can feel confident knowing that someone like Google is completely comfortable with what we're doing, right? We've done it for 3 years or more anyway, but yeah, we are completely compliant. And I hope that answers that question.
Very good, very good. Well, closing moments here with Matt Boyce and Jordan Reed from Podium. And just to, another quick question we'll squeeze in here, just is the platform or any best practices associated with dealerships in Canada? Do you serve that market at all?
Could you repeat that one more time?
Does Podium serve dealerships in Canada with what would be any type of recommendations for text messaging for dealerships in that country?
Yeah, absolutely. We've done a lot of work up in Canada. You know, just some notable groups up there, the Humberview Group, Dilawri, Auto Canada. I mean, we have a lot of different groups up there using us. And, you know, we've gone through all this, the same stuff, right? They've had the same type of questions, and yeah, we are completely compliant up there as well.
Well, very good. Well, very good. Well, again, if you want any more information from the folks at Podium, please be sure to go to their website, podium.com. And if we didn't get to your question today, we'll be sure to pass it on to Matt and Jordan and the team at Podium. And gentlemen, just to close out our time here, 2018 is already well underway. We're already into February, but just if you could just close with any suggestions on if a dealership is starting from scratch in its text messaging strategy, or any modifications they could make to really leverage the capabilities as we go on here in the new year.
I would say envision how your business is or how a customer's expectations will be changing over time, and what does a successful dealership look like in the year 2020? What does it look like in the year 2022 and beyond? And I think the ease of use and the more convenient it is to communicate with a dealership as a consumer means that dealership will stand out. And so those types of general questions they can answer, any inventory that they can check in on, any appointments that need to be set, all of those questions and interactions. It may not be limited to text messaging. It could be WhatsApp. It could be Snapchat. It could be something totally different by then. But your ability to be available and quick to respond will definitely help you set yourself apart.
Excellent, excellent. Well, again, that's Matt Boyce and Jordan Reed from Podium on why your dealership should be texting in 2018. Gentlemen, thank you so much for the advice and knowledge. Very much appreciated. And thank you so much for joining us. Please be watch of your inbox for a message containing a link to the recording of this webinar, so you could share it with other people at your store. So again, I'm Nick Zulovich, part of the team at Cherokee Media Group. Thank you so much for joining us, and all the best for continued success at your dealership.